Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Sunday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather and sports. Let's get into the news making headlines tonight. Mama Africa announced their plans to register a political party representing the LGBTQIA community as well as vulnerable individuals in Namibia. The aim of this initiative is to ensure that their voices are heard in the country's legislative body as they have endured violations for over 3 decades. Mama Africa made these remarks during the March Against Hate organized by Equal Namibia that took place yesterday morning down Independence Avenue Road. The march was a response to the hate that the community has been receiving after a landmark Supreme Court hearing. Let's take a look at this video courtesy of Junior Kapofi.
Thank you, comrades. Thank you, comrades. I'm having always a message. We are voiceless if it comes to decisions in this country. I was there in the days of the struggle. Others was there. I was from Swabo. I was from Nanso. I have been violated with others in this country. So the time has come for us now that we must really think we are already in plans to register our political party as well, and the vulnerable Namibians, so that we can voice for ourselves in the August House, because we have been violated for 33 years in this country. So we say, down to the lawmakers of this country, down! Are you afraid? Are you afraid? So let's go! Some of us will be on the ballot paper next year. We will be showing them we are Namibians. Viva Yatimite movement, viva! Power to people! Power to people! Amandla! Thank you, comrades.
Getting into our next story, the 28th Annual General Meeting of the Southern African Regional Police Chiefs Cooperation Organization took place from the 19th to the 23rd of June at the Swakopmund Hotel and Entertainment Center. The platform provides a launchpad to extend the frontier of peace and security in the SADC region in tandem with Vision 2050. Safety and Security Minister Albert Kawana said since its establishment in 1995, SAPCO has transformed the policing arena not only in Southern Africa but beyond. Although they were reflecting and celebrating their achievements, the minister said a lot still needs to be done as transnational organized crime, abbreviated as TOC, syndicates continue to threaten the safety and security of citizens across the country. Cases of human trafficking, illicit financial flows, cash heists, drug trafficking and cybercrime, just to mention a few, are threatening peace and security in their region, he said. Mr. Kawana reiterated that chiefs of police need to have a clear picture of the challenges affecting deployed personnel on the ground in order to make proper deployment plans. In their efforts to effectively address the scourge of TOC, the region has developed several regional instruments which serve as critical tools in fostering cooperation among member states. Critical tools such as the integrated strategy to prevent and combat TOC and the SADC protocol on the control of firearms, ammunition and other related materials have been adopted. The minister said to the attendees that their sector is key in spearheading the implementation of these instruments, which also provide a framework for sharing information, intelligence and best practices among different law enforcement agencies, thereby enabling the region to collectively coordinate the response to tackle TOC. Now getting into our next story, with the increase in violence against children, Oshikoto Region Governor Penda Yandakolo said they will no longer tolerate cases where children are left without parental care. Speaking during his State of the Region address last Wednesday, he also bemoaned gender-based violence, which he said is a prevalent problem in Namibia, impacting almost every aspect of life. According to Yandakolo, GBV cases in the region have increased by 10% since last year. These incidents often happen because children are left alone at home without parental care, he said. This, he noted, needs to be addressed, and he warned parents that leaving children at home unattended will no longer be taken lightly in his region. Oshikoto has so far reported 81 rape, 46 domestic violence, and 246 stock theft cases. The governor said as a mitigation measure for GBV and sexual abuse, awareness is critical. It is also important to give adolescents the knowledge and skills to comprehend sex and the underlying causes of violence in their communities, to educate and engage peers and other community members to work to prevent such violence, and to help them learn where they can access support if they experience violence. Now, bringing us to the end of our top stories, wealthy nations have finalized an overdue $100 billion climate finance pledge to developing countries and created a fund for biodiversity and the protection of forests, France presidents said on Friday. President Emmanuel Macron was speaking at a final panel of a summit in Paris where some 40 leaders, including 24 from Africa, China's prime minister, and Brazil's president, had gathered to give impetus to a new global finance agenda. The summit's objective is to boost crisis financing for low-income states and ease their debt burdens, reform post-war financial systems, and free up funds to tackle climate change by getting top-level consensus on how to promote a number of initiatives struggling in bodies like the G20, COP, IMF, World Bank, and United Nations. The $100 billion pledge falls far short of poor nations' actual needs, but has become symbolic of a wealthy country's failure to deliver promised climate funds. World Trade Organization Chief Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala told the summit that leaders agree that the multiple challenges that they're facing are all linked. Poverty, climate change, and food security go hand in hand. Developing economies need financing that is additional and accessible, and they also just want a climate transition. That brings us to the end of our top stories, but stick around because after the break, we get into our story of the day.
To another exciting episode of Oneuptwo.
Jullie is die weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis heel moontlik kan byt.
Now let's get into our story of the day. Members of the LGBTQIA+ community took to the streets of Windhoek to fight against the hate that they've been receiving after the recent Supreme Court verdict. The community marched down Independence Avenue, stopped at the Parliament to speak on the laws in the country, continued down to the police station to express their disappointment in the current sodomy law, and ended it off by laying down flowers and constitutions for the Minister of Justice, Yvonne Dalseb. This video is by Junior Kapofi. We'll be right back after this short break with our Community Talk segment.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss my .NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
You're still watching Sunset News. In Community Talk tonight, the Namibian police in the Oshana region on Saturday afternoon held its first ever street mile and fun walk at Oshakati, attracting over 50 participants. Here, Oshana Regional Commissioner Naftao Lungameni Sakaria and Ongwediva Mayor Tara Shaliefu complete their 6-kilometer walk. Let's have a look.
Coordinators as well, the sport officer, Inspector Indongo, Blue Machine, with your team. Please give them a round of applause. It's a good beginning, like Chief Matara was saying. We kick off like this. Next year, it's going to be bigger, it's going to be better. The prices will increase, we can guarantee you that. And the marketing will improve, it will be much better. We will make sure that it's a bigger event. As you can see, our athletes are here in different categories. I just want to wish you all the best of luck to participate in the sport. You should allow me to win. I'm the regional commander. No one is going to run leaving me behind. Honorable His Worship the Mayor can be the second. We can deploy now so that we remain politically correct. Otherwise, it's not going to end very well, this thing. So, in short, thank you very much. I'm not sure if I should call the...
Number 1 and number 2. The mayor and myself, we are very healthy and doing very well. In fact, we want to go again. Yeah.
We'll now take a quick ad break and return with our economic news. Stay tuned.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
Heading straight into our economic news segment, raw milk production dropped from 23.9 million litres in 2018 to 15 million litres in 2021. However, according to the Namibian Agricultural Union, NAU, the sector stabilized in 2022 with an increase in volume of about 3.8% from the 2021 figure. An improvement in raw milk production, together with a price increase towards the end of 2022, reflected in the fourth quarter of 2022 as a 5.2% increase year-on-year pushed production value by 5.3%. The estimated production value increased from 93.7 million Namibian dollars to 98.6 million Namibian dollars. The sector shows growth potential, but there's an urgent need to ensure sustainable growth, the union said. In other news, the estimated growth for poultry, including broilers and eggs, stood at 1.2 billion Namibian dollars in 2021, but increased to 1.3 billion Namibian dollars in 2022, displaying an increase of about 8.9%. According to the NAU, growth in value in the broiler and egg subsectors mainly came from a 7.5% and 18.2% increase in pricing, while broiler production fell from 33,219 chickens in 2021 to 32,835 chickens in 2022. Egg-laying hens increased by 13.5% from 497,717 hens in 2021 to 565,000 hens in 2022, meaning eggs increased from 12.1 million in 2021 to 13.7 million in 2022. Now let's take a look at our economic indicators. 23 Namibian dollars and 84 cents buys you 1 British pound. Meanwhile, 18 Namibian dollars and 75 cents buys you 1 US dollar. And for 1 Chinese yuan, you can expect to trade about 2 Namibian dollars and 61 cents. Looking at commodities, gold and Brent crude oil are on an upturn. Meanwhile, copper and platinum are on a downturn of 2.09% and 0.51% respectively. Now in international news after the break, warlord Yevgeny Prigozhin to leave Russia as part of a deal to end insurrection. More on this story as we return with international news.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraifa. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
eTicket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nmh.com.na.
Now let's get into our international news. Russian warlord Yevgeny Prigozhin has agreed to leave Russia for Belarus as part of a deal to end his armed uprising, with charges against him to be dropped, the Kremlin said. Dmitry Peskov, President Vladimir Putin's spokesman, said that fighters from Prigozhin's militia would not be charged because of their deeds on the front. He added that some Wagner fighters who had not taken part in the uprising would sign contracts with the Russian Defense Ministry. Prigozhin announced on Saturday evening that Wagner mercenaries had abandoned the attempt insurrection just hours before a potential assault on Moscow. It was the first coup attempt in Russia for 3 decades. In a deal brokered by Belarus leader Alexander Lukashenko, Prigozhin said his convoy of troops, weapons and tanks would stop their journey towards Moscow and return to their bases after 24 hours in crisis in which the Kremlin scrambled to turn the capital into a fortress to fight off the rebels. Putin had asked Lukashenko to mediate in the hope of avoiding any further bloodshed because the Belarusian leader has known Prigozhin for 20 years, Peskov said. Peskov described Saturday's uprising in which Wagner shot down several army helicopters, captured a major army command post and marched most of the way from the Ukrainian border to Moscow as fairly difficult and full of tragic events. But he said there were higher goals of escaping bloodshed and internal confrontation. Putin will not make any further comments on the incident, Peskov said, adding that Russia's invasion of Ukraine would continue. Wagner paramilitaries loyal to Prigozhin began to leave Rostov on Saturday evening, according to state newswire TASS. Video posted online by state media and Wagner-affiliated social media channels showed the fighters thanking locals who cheered, clapped and chanted in support. Now, after the break, we take a look at the weather predictions.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraifa. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news both on the WTA for women's and
It wouldn't be Sunset News if we don't bring you the weather predictions. Let's take a look. Inanna can expect maximum temperatures of 29 degrees and a minimum temperatures of 10 degrees, while Ruakana can expect a maximum temperature of 27 degrees and a minimum of 11 degrees. Moving over, Swakopmund can expect maximum temperatures of 14 degrees and minimum temperatures of 13 degrees, while Henties Bay can expect 16 degrees maximum and 12 degrees minimum. Now, it was a jam-packed sporting weekend, and we return with some of the results as well as some sporting news right after this short break.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
We start off our sports segment with some rugby results. Veteran scrum half Eugene Yankees came off the bench and landed a late conversion to secure FNB Wanderers a come-from-behind 25-25 draw against FNB Rehoboth. Meanwhile, at Walvis Bay, FNB Kudus capitalized on the aforementioned result and retook the lead on 34 points at the top of the standings, overtaking Wanderers. Kudus racked up 5 tries against 2 in a 39-21 win against Trusco United, who remain in third position. At Rehoboth, FNB Unam opened up a 38-26 lead at the final whistle against FNB Rio Falcon. The students scored 6 tries to add a bonus point, and at Grootfontein, FNB Western Suburbs stayed in the race and moved up to 4th spot with a 32-25 win against the host team. Getting into some netball news, 5 of the 6 school netball teams from the Commerce region departed to South Africa over the weekend. The under 12, under 13, under 14, 15 and 16 teams were invited to participate in the all ages tournament in Boksburg from 26 to 28 June. The Commerce under 17 team will be participating in a junior tournament in Cape Town from the 9th to the 14th of July. These are regional tournaments and are annual highlights on the South African school netball calendar. However, the Commerce Netball Committee received a letter from the Namibia School Sports Union in March stating that no national trials would be held and that no netball teams would be participating internationally this year. That brings us to the end of our sports news. But before we say goodbye, Tour Magic FC has officially been crowned as the FNB Women's Super League champions. The club has torn teams apart through the process as they powered their way to the summit of women's football. After the break, we return with the highlights from today's broadcast, just in case you need a quick recap.
We are so excited to be kickstarting your morning with entertainment. Everything was happening during this past weekend.
Yes.
Exciting news.
Wow, no, she was killing it already.
In my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with him serving the full term.
As well as keeping you informed on the issues that you need to know happening in and around our country.
You're still watching Sunset News. If you're just joining us, here are the news highlights. Mama Africa announced their plans to register a political party representing the LGBTQIA+ community as well as vulnerable individuals in Namibia. The aim of this initiative is to ensure that their voices are heard in the country's legislative body as they've endured violations for over 3 decades. In economic news, raw milk production dropped from 23.9 million litres in 2018 to 15 million litres in 2021. However, according to the Namibia Agricultural Union, the sector stabilised in 2022 with an increase in volume of about 3.8% from the 2021 figure. In some sports news, FNB Kudu's first team retook the top spot in the Namibia Rugby Union's Premier League, while the First Division and Women's League also delivered action-packed matches on Saturday at the Tamariskia Stadium in Swakopmund. And with that, we have come to the end of the broadcast. Make sure you join Sunset News on Facebook on all the NMH platforms on weekdays and on Sundays, as well as on our website, Oneuptwo.com. Sunset News screens on DSTV channel 285 and GoTV channel 25 every weekday and on Sundays from 7:30 to 8 p.m. I am Diana Master, and this has been Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.